The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated here
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson and Blurnsball.
Futurama!
I have really got to ask Mark to hand me the artwork for that so I can edit it so at least those guys look like they have the right number of legs.
Yeah, the eyes could use a bit of touching up too, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Good
Look on the bright
morning,
side, artists. You can feel a lot more confident in your job security.
Tell me about it. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, and welcome to TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, Alexis Hejna. Joining me from the Canadian offices, Mr. David Wright. Hello.
Hello, keeping at least 6 feet distance from the United States.
Yes, unfortunately, we are a little short on a few of our guests, one of which actually got the disease that shall not be named while down at San Diego Comic-Con. He was one of the few of us who was lucky enough to get a ticket, get to work there, and he comes home sick. So, wishing him a speedy recovery. I had to channel through that when I recorded Twisted Metal, so I know it is not easy.
Not fun.
Mm-mm. And for what it's worth, folks, we're not out of the woods on that yet. So, keep your hands clean, keep masking up if you have to, but let's get through this. So enough about, the horrors of reality. Let's talk about some horrors of fantasy with dragons. As we're
based on
looking at-
reality.
Tell me about it.
Not the dragon part.
No. But yes, we're looking at season 2 of House of the Dragon. I had the production company up and then I scrolled down to read a few things. What was I thinking there? So yes, brought to us by GRRM Studios. Gee, I wonder what those initials stand for. Bastard Sword, 126 Pictures Incorporated, and HBO Entertainment. So season 1 ended with a very ominous note as we watched the two sides of the Targaryen faction, which we've affectionately known as the Blacks and the Greens, are getting ready to go to war. The Greens have Aegon on the throne for a few episodes, but are mostly represented by character Alicent. She is the Dowager Queen. The Blacks, we have Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, the rightful heir, as she calls herself, along with a handful of others, and we are watching them. Let's just go ahead and actually get into this, because while this season does have some really great moments, which we will get to, I want to talk about the finale and the ending, because there are a lot of people, a lot of articles I've seen, a lot of YouTube videos, essentially everyone's talking about how the ending was one heck of a letdown because we are not at the war yet. We are still just building up to the war. The finale ends with seeing the High Towers marching with Darian and his dragon, Tessarian? I don't know.
I'll be honest here. I can't remember most of the names in this show.
Me neither. We did this whole thing about the dragon names when we reviewed season 1.
Yeah, Chief Stealer still number 1 choice.
And we'll talk about his cameo. We are going to talk about that. But yeah, so we see that. It's the beautiful blue dragon. We have the Starks, the Greybeards from Castle Black, who are now marching down past the twins. We have the Navy from the Triarchy sailing with one of the Lannister twins at the helm.
Yeah, the Lannister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually one guy playing 2 different characters, so it can get a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that, and
Charles Dance can't be everyone, sadly.
Unfortunately, he is good at playing everyone, though. And yeah, we have Queen Alicent committing treason. Which from what I've gathered, was not in the book. Apparently, in the House of the Dragon book, the Greens went to Harrenhal as they had planned because they knew that Daemon and his army were going to be there and they were going to stop them. But Daemon realized, hey, if they're coming to get us, then King's Landing is completely unprotected.
Yeah.
Because at this point, King's Landing only has one dragon left to defend them, and that is Vhagar, or as we called him after seeing episode 4, freaking Godzilla with wings. Or called her. Hirsch. It's a female dragon. I always forget that. Vhagar is a woman. We're not going to misgender the dragons.
Yeah, the dragons can take care of themselves.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, it ends just on this cliffhanger. And yeah, a lot of people, this is unfortunately a habit we have seen with so many shows, that it's all building up, and it's like, what's going to happen? See you next season. So
yeah, they didn't do a very good job with their cliffhangers. It's just kind of a bunch of stuff is happening, and you'll find out what happens next season.
Yeah, so I've heard some rumors say that originally they had planned on doing like 2 more episodes, and HBO said, no, let's cut it here so we can, entice them, or it's like always leave them wanting more without realizing that's just royally pissing us all off.
It is 2 episodes shorter than the first season. Like, this was only 8, the first season was 10, so.
That's true. So, but yeah, you feel like this was kind of a bold move, cutting it like this?
Well, I'm not sure I'd call it a bold move. It was an interesting move. Like, I wasn't furious. It was just kind of like, oh, that's it? Okay. You compare it to like the previous season, which ended with one of Rhaenyra's kids getting killed, and just that sort of moment where she's been trying to sort of cautiously work out the best course of action to cause the minimal amount of damage, given the whole succession controversy. And then you just kind of you see her get the news that her kids been slain, and she just turns around and looks into the camera, and you just get this like look in her eyes of like, this means war, and then it just cuts out, and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. And then you get to the next season, it's still more of them just preparing for war. And it's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of, I was expecting a bit more action this season.
Yeah, although we do get some really good action scenes out of this, especially
there actually is action in the season, but
yeah, especially starting with the very first episode, which a lot of people were also kind of shocked by, because those who have read the book, the names Blood and Cheese always ring a bell. They know who those characters are. They did not expect them to start off this season with those two. What did you think of that moment of, well, infanticide? There's no other way to put it. They freaking kill a little child.
Well, child murder worked really good in the first season of Game of Thrones.
Very true.
Yeah. We're kind of at the point of like the cooler heads are trying to avoid war, but it's all the impetuous, people that are basically screwing everything up. Like you had what character's name? The eye patch guy.
Aemond.
Aemond. You have Aemond, starting a fight with the kid, which results in him getting killed, which he wasn't supposed to do. It was just a diplomatic mission. And then you have Daemon on the other side. It's like, I can't wait anymore. We have to do something. We have to answer blood with blood. So he hires a bunch of dumbasses to go and murder Aemond in the Red Keep. They can't find him. It's like, well, we'll just kill another prince and good enough. And yeah, they end up killing like the crown prince, like Aegon, sorry.
Yeah, Aegon's
Aegon's heir. I mean, like the world of Game of Thrones, whilst not historical, takes a lot of inspiration from real medieval history, and it was a tough time. It was a brutal time. Like, bad things happen. Like, even without murder, the odds of children growing up were pretty low. Like, that's why, like, pretty much once a woman became of childbearing age, she just basically made babies until she couldn't anymore or died.
Pretty much.
And that was just because, like, you have 12 kids, maybe 3 of them will actually live long enough to have kids of their own. It was just, and that's even if you're rich. Like, it's just, it was a tough time. And I think one of the things that makes Game of Thrones and the whole George R.R. Martin universe so popular is it doesn't shy away from that. like good, like bad things happen to good people. The noble hero sometimes dies because what they do whilst morally good is stupid tactically. And that kind of reality of that presentation, it gives the world sort of a texture and like depth, and I think people really respond to that. So, and it was a good way of sort of getting the audience investment going on, because again, child murder, and like it also kind of upped the stakes, and it flipped the tables on Rhaenyra now, where she's blamed for it politically, even though she had nothing directly to do with it. It was Daemon acting on his own, but that's the way these things work. So yeah. and like as a parent, it was kind of, it hits a bit harder now, but I can see why they did that, and I think it worked well to sort of up the stakes, because like the whole idea is this is based off of a very simple misunderstanding, and eventually they do uncover the misunderstanding. But at this point, it's like, look, enough people have done so many stupid, terrible things by this point. It doesn't really matter who's really the legitimate heir. Like, it's gone too far. It has to be fought. And a lot of the season was sort of Rhaenyra and Alicent kind of trying to avoid the war, but by the end, it's just like, no, like we can't anymore. It's all we can do is like one side wins easier than the other.
Yeah, I mean, everyone blames Alicent for this, for misunderstanding the words of the last words of her husband, but it's a reminder.
This is the problem with naming all your kings the same.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as bad as the French, but still.
Yeah, that is a running joke with the Targaryen Empire in this book series. I think before this season. Okay, so this is the second season of House of the Dragon. HBO Max has confirmed that we are going to get 2 more seasons of this before the end, and I'm pretty sure we get at least 2, maybe 3 more Aegons out of this.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, for Alicent, I kind of blame her in the sense that what was her husband's? What was the previous king's name?
Viserys?
Viserys? Sure, let's go with that. Yeah, like he was pretty consistent throughout his entire life, that once he chose Rhaenyra as his heir, he never backed down from that. It was only like on his deathbed, where he's borderline babbling incoherently, that he says Aemon, because he's talking about the Song of Ice and Fire, because he has he's out of it now. He's in it like
he doesn't even know who he's talking to.
Yeah, he's almost in like a dream state, because just he's old, diseased, and about to die. So
probably tripping on painkillers.
Yeah, the milk of the poppy is probably not helping much there too. So like you'd think that like, okay, like in his delirious, rambling final words, he says something that could be interpreted as he wants Aegon to be his heir. But back when he was sharp as a tack, up to like that dinner that night,
yeah, he stood by Rhaenyra as he stood by
Rhaenyra. So there was a bit of like she interpreted things the way that she wanted them to go, and acted on them. And I do kind of think there's this funny moment later on in the show where Aegon's kind of chomping at the bit to go and do revenge, and like after he hangs the rat catchers, and Hightower comes in, and he's just like, "You idiot!"
Yeah.
And then he says, "What do you mean? I am the rightful king of Westeros." And then Hightower just starts laughing, like.
Well, it's also important to remember that even if Alicent hadn't heard that from Viserys, Otto and the small council had been plotting to usurp the throne, because the minute Alicent comes in and says the king is dead, before she even says anything about his final words, are like, okay, so we need to do this, and she's literally like, "Have you been planning this whole time without me?" Yeah, they were.
I mean, it's good to have a plan. It's better than not having a plan, even if you never use it. But
yeah.
So it's kind of implied that he pretty much had already figured out that like Viserys, he never wavered in his choice. So yeah, like you're not the official heir, but it works out good for us. Like there's an old saying in politics: never let a good crisis go to waste. So if you have like some terrible thing happen, but you can spin it in a way that's beneficial to your aims, then you do that, because why not? It's already happened. And I think that's where a lot of conspiratorial thinking comes from in real life. Like 9/11 was an inside job so they could pass the Patriot Act. No, they always wanted to pass the Patriot Act. Just that was the convenient excuse at the time to get it done. As an example. So
No.
it was the same thing with the murder of the baby. It's like, we don't know who did it for sure, but blaming Rhaenyra, that's the most politically advantageous move for us. So that's what we're gonna do.
Exactly. And it is interesting that again, we are built up so much to hate Alicent with what she does and how she handles this. But we really see her fall in just how much the small council and the throne in general uses her. It's like she has always been thought that she was important. And,
Yeah.
When Aegon is taken out, she's like, well, I filled in as regent for my husband, which I don't think actually she was technically recognized as regent. She was probably just like a mouthpiece.
It's been a while since I've seen season 1, so I can't say one way or the other. I think with that, it was Hightower being dismissed first, because I don't think he would have let that happen, because there was that scene in the first season where she sort of starts like scheming with him, and he's like, "Oh, I never knew that you had this in you. We're gonna have different conversations moving forward." But I think a lot of this show, this season at least, is acknowledging that they like the previous reign of the king, like Viserys's reign, was peaceful. Like there was very little war or battle, so you have this whole generation that's grown up without knowledge of like the realities of war.
Exactly. We have multiple conversations during this season where they talk about how they have all these knights at their disposal through the different houses, and not a single one of them has ever been in a real battle before.
Yeah. Rhaenyra points out, like, I've been in exactly as many battles as you have, good sir. I mean, she later on sort of says, like, whilst that is true, she was never trained in the arts of warfare. So she does kind of, she becomes more aware that, I do have my own limitations. And maybe I should rely on those who do have knowledge of tactics to perhaps do more of that. But yeah, like you get like, Aegon and his brother, they're like itching to fight. And I think with Alicent, she doesn't quite understand what she's about to unleash when she sets this war into motion. Like I think it's like after Aegon gets like crippled, then it's like, oh shit, this is what that's like. Then you kind of start to see her realizing that things are just how bad things are going to go, and trying to get out of it. But by that point, it's like, it's too late. Like, we can't just say whoopsies, my bad, and just have a nice little exchange of power. She says, like, Rhaenyra tells her, I have to kill your son. That's the only way this ends, because my throne has been usurped. That's how you re-cement your authority.
Yeah, especially since it's pretty clear at the end of season 1 that Otto Hightower plans to have Rhaenyra killed before she can lay claim to the throne. I mean, that's the way it has to work in that time period. It's like any other potential claims, anyone else who has a potential claim to the throne, you got to get rid of them.
Yeah, because there'll always be someone who tries to like stage a revolution using that person or one of their heirs as justification for their legitimacy. So, and that's kind of usually how it is historically. Like, yeah, if you take over from someone else, you prune that branch of the tree with extreme prejudice. Like it even goes into like family members. Like you get into some of the histories, like with spats within royal households. Like, yeah, like there was infanticide. Like it's like if you look at it to like in Chinese history, Cixi, the Empress Dowager who ran China for a long time, like she basically puppeteered the imperial family from behind the throne, and she would order the murder of her own grandchildren. I mean, she was a piece of work, but it's just this is the reality of that political system.
Very much so. But it's interesting to see how far Alicent falls, and we see what happens to her. It's just interesting to me that she doesn't expect this to happen. She goes along with him saying a woman should never be on the throne. There should not be a ruling queen of Westeros. And she finds herself used as a prop first she and her daughter Helena have to go out with that funeral for Prince Jaehaerys.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all like you pretty much can hear someone in the back like, look sadder, we need the people to be moved to tears or something like that.
Yep.
She's removed from the council. She tries to step up as regent after Aegon is critically injured. And I love Laris Strong, who says, so, we've been doing this to stop a woman from taking the throne. So if we let you take the throne, then you see the problem here? And yeah, it's just abundantly clear that she thought she was doing the right thing, and she took no realization of what this was going to do to her and how it was going to impact her. And I think the awakening is also how it impacts her daughter, Helena. The fact that she has to watch her suffer just as much.
Yeah, and like the rest of her family too. Like, she's seen one of her sons like crippled, like half of his body is burned, and we'll get more into Aegon later because he's one thing I'd like to talk about more.
Definitely.
But also to see her other son, just he's turning into a monster. Like, she starts to see like he is grabbing more and more power and becoming more and more ruthless, and like you can kind of see that she's sort of seeing how things are rapidly spiraling out of control, and this is going to end in fire and blood.
There's a saying, when a Targaryen is born, God flips a coin.
Yeah.
But I think the more appropriate realization is that Daemon and Aemon's names are anagrams of each other, same letters, because it is abundantly clear just how similar the two are, especially when you compare them with their brothers Viserys and Aegon. Because frankly, Aegon was just more of an idiot than anything else. But again, we'll get to him in a little bit.
We'll talk about him a bit more.
But we do see, Aemon's and his fury, the fact that we see him in the first season that he gets picked on, he gets bullied a lot. We have that scene of Aegon and Jason Luke saying, we have a dragon for you, and it's a pig.
Yeah.
With wings attached onto it. And that's what inspires him to steal Vhagar, who was supposed to go to Rhaena.
Yeah. I mean, it's been very well established in this season that you cannot assign dragons to people.
No.
That does not work well.
Yeah, we tried that, and you know what we found out? Dragons like their food extra toasty.
Yeah. It's like, forget the Game of Thrones. When you choose to ride a dragon, you either win or you die.
Yeah, no kidding. But we see so much that Aegon he doesn't respond well to, and he feels that any kind of insult to him must be answered with force. And it is scary how much that parallels so many politicians, so many people that we see in our current worldview. People we know, we all know people who are like this. You insult them, you mock them, even if it's just in a kidding and they are going to come back fist swinging. And that is Aemond. Every time, we have the scene, anytime that someone mocks him, he returns tenfold and makes sure everyone around him suffers.
Yeah. And that's certainly what's happening towards the end when Rhaenyra gets vastly more dragons than everyone else, and you just see him I'm not the strongest anymore. Like, there's a threat to my strength, and so he starts to lash out. Yeah, I mean, he's a control freak. He wants to control everything to ensure that he's the one with the holding all the power, so no one can hurt him. And I've often said before that I don't ask for characters to always make rational choices, but I do want them to make understandable choices for that character. And this show does a very good job of that, where a lot of very bad decisions are made in this show by these characters. But I understand why they're making these decisions. Like I say, we understand why Aemon, is the way he is. We've seen his history, how he grew up. He gets the world's most powerful dragon, but he also gets his eye stabbed out in the ensuing fight, and just how that affects him.
I would say, who do you think makes the bigger, dumber choices? Aemond, Aegon, or Kristen Cole?
Ooh, I mean, I'd probably say Aegon, is probably the one who makes the dumbest choices overall.
Very true. I mean, yeah.
I mean, Aemon, for all his faults, he's gone through the school of hard knocks a bit for his position in life. So he's kind of he's hardened. You know, he's been in a fight. He's lost bits of himself. You know, he's had to endure more of the bad aspects of life. Whereas Aegon's just he's a spoiled rich brat.
Yeah, we see before his injury just how Aegon is completely unfit for the throne. You have the scene of he appoints his friends to the King's Guard. We have a scene with him saying it's like we've removed the disloyal King's Guard, and the ones that he added are the friends he was drinking and getting high with on the Iron Throne in the opening episode or in the first episode of the season.
Yeah.
You know, he retaliates about the rat catchers, which we talked about, and yeah, that was a beyond stupid idea.
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, his child was murdered, and like I say, that hits pretty hard to a parent.
But it becomes apparent just one of the dumbest reasons for putting Aegon on the throne, not just for the misogyny, it's that he was not trained to become king. This is not something that, you know, it's like, well, he's a prince, so surely he can be king. No, he can't. And it's even clear when you have that scene of Aemond talking to him in Valyrian, in High Valyrian, and Aegon doesn't know the language, and he is struggling. And as somebody who sucks at foreign languages, I sympathize so much with that scene. It's like, oh God, that hurts. But yeah, it's more to the whole idea. It's like, just because he's a crown prince, just because he's a male, that does not mean he was the best choice to sit on the throne. He has had no training. He doesn't understand anything about actually ruling. You know, he doesn't really know what the best way to go about it is, how to handle this kind of stuff. And then you have Aemond, who takes over as Prince Regent, and his idea of doing stuff is just to be a cruel psychopath.
Yeah, murder, burn him with dragons. But also, I think for Aegon, he was never expecting to be king. Like, because like it wasn't really common knowledge that there was going to be a coup at the, when Viserys died. So yeah, like he's just like, yeah, well, I'm rich. I'm from a wealthy family. You know, my dad's the king, but I'm not the heir. So yeah, I'm just gonna party. Like that was his personality. Like, you know, he never really seemed to be into the martial arts aspect of being a king, which is a big part of being nobility in that age. Like you are the military. You know, it was expected. He just seems to like, you know, he's basically all about the whores, to put it simply. Like just and now he like there's even the scene in like the first one where he tries to run away. And
yes,
like I'm a terrible choice for king. Like, I don't want to be king. Just, you know, let me just grab a bunch of money and I'll just go off and, you know, drink and whore myself until the end of my life, and you can be king because you actually want to be.
He even tells that to Alicent on his way. I think it's at his coronation. He gets he turns around. He's like, okay, I think I could get into this. But he does say to his mother when they're in the carriage on the way to the coronation, he's like, Dad had all these years to tell me that he changed his mind. He never did. You really think he would have done this now?
Yeah, which is true. Like again, he might be an idiot, but that doesn't mean he's always wrong.
Yeah, but again, then we get into Aemon and his fury and the fact that his idea is just put the boot down.
Yeah,
essentially. I think the one good idea he had was cut down the rat catchers.
Yeah, again, he's not an idiot, but he's just has these control issues and like he thinks of it a lot more in terms of military action. Like he's very much the opposite of Aegon, where like you saw him, he trained a lot in the previous season. Like you can see like, he took his martial training very seriously, and he also has the most powerful dragon in the world. So you sort of see him as, you know, he is like the nuclear option of nuclear options as far as the military capacity of the Greens.
Yeah, even though he lacks any kind of compassion, we have the scene of them telling him people are starving. Rhaenyra has forced a blockade around King's Landing. No food can get in from anywhere else. We have the Riverlands, which grow their own food, but they're not growing enough to get a decent amount to King's Landing. King's Landing is just not in an opportune place for civilization to thrive. It's on a rock. It's on a
Yeah.
giant rock near the ocean. There's no agriculture there. It's just a giant cliffside, basically. And they tell Aemond that the people are starving because of the blockade and that he needs to do something. And he's like, well, why aren't they mad at Rhaenyra? It's like, again, doesn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, he's royalty. He doesn't quite understand how the people see things.
That does actually foray nicely into what I think is probably the most important part of the season, and what I think was actually the best move by the creators, and that is keeping our eyes on the small folk.
Yes.
I think we joked in the first one, it's like season 1, or we like to call it, damn it, Otto Hightower, this is all your fault. This season, I like to call season 2, or do not underestimate the common people. Because we really find out that when you do not have the backs of the people, just the commoners, the everyday people, it's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of that's part of ruling. Like, is you have to make sure that the people are, at the very least, not necessarily happy, but unwilling to rebel. And and often the tipping point is where they no longer fear death. Like, life and death are interchangeable for them. That's when you have a problem, because that's when people are willing to risk anything to improve their situation, even if it means dying. So yeah, like it's difficult. And again, you look through history and there have been times where rulers push too hard and then
you get a
things
Marie
break, and
Antoinette.
then the French Revolution was a good one. King Charles
say which French Revolution? There's been multiple.
Okay, the big one that they teach in schools. Yeah, where they got rid of the monarchy for good. But you'd also have Charles I in England, who was a bit too pushy with the people, and they cut his head off and installed a republic government, and didn't really work out. So they ended up getting another king, but that's another story.
Yeah, wasn't Charles I the one who basically said, "I can do no wrong because I'm king, so whatever I say is law"?
Something like that. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, like I say, he didn't really listen to the people that much, and kind of like was very forceful. If you objected to his ideas, he would start billeting soldiers, like the army in your area, which doesn't sound like much to us, but back then it was like you have a lot of young, single, armed men with royal assent, and like they would eat your food and maybe notice that your wife's kind of cute and your daughter's kind of cute, and and there's nothing you could really do to deal with them. So you kind of in modern day, especially in America, you have like the cult of the soldier, right? We don't quite do it to the same degree as you guys, but there's almost this like cultural worship of the armed forces in the States, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's just the idea that these are the ones who are brave enough, strong enough to go out and fight for us and die for us.
Yes. Whereas back a few hundred years ago, you were a soldier because you were good at nothing else. Like these are just the dregs, the useless of society. You can't make anything, you can't grow anything. Oh, you may as well go and fight. Like if you win, great. If not, well, then you're no longer a burden on the state. And again, like it's very different from the way we live our lives and view things now, because we have a volunteer army. But now it's sorry, I got distracted by history. So you have to kind of look at.
That's one of the reasons I love having you on these shows.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm just kind of like what dots are we connecting here? So back to Charles I here. So that was like a very sort of high pressure tactic a royal could use, and he pushed too far, and there was a revolution, and he lost. And then eventually, like they got Charles II in, like his cousin, who did much better because he remembered what happened to Charles I.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a cliche saying, but there's a reason we keep saying it. Those who don't learn from history.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's like we
so,
keep saying it because it keeps happening.
yeah. But there is a sort of like, when you're a kid, there's always this sort of like, oh man, it would be cool to be king or president or whatever, because I can tell everybody else what to do and they have to do it. But I think now one of the more positive things I'm finding in a lot of media, like Game of Thrones, if you watch The Crown, I think this is also very present in that. For listen to our reviews for more, is the sort of idea that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with leadership too, and a lot of sacrifice to if you want to be someone who does it well. And you kind of see kings like Aegon, who just are spoiled, rich idiots who don't know how to govern. They tend not to do so well. They're either face revolution or threats from within. And we even sort of get that with Daemon, where he's angry because him being the brother of the previous king, he's like, well, I should have been next in line if he didn't have a male heir, instead of him declaring his daughter. And there's a scene where he sort of he's talking to Viserys's ghost, and he's just like, I know you want this, but it sucks. Like this thing will crush you, like the crown.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying: those who crave for power are seldom capable of wielding it.
Yeah. I think Alex Adams said, like, anyone capable of getting themselves into the position of like large authority over others in no way should have the position.
And again, we see parallels between Daemon and again with Aemond. And I know, yes, their names are anagrams of each other, but Prince Jaehaerys is killed, and after Aegon is, attacked during the Battle of Rook's Rest, he admits later it's like that his privates apparently burned off because of dragon fire, and it's like, so now he doesn't have an heir. He's got his daughter, so that means that because they're fighting the Saints, like, no, it shouldn't have gone to Rhaenyra because she wasn't a male. It's like, that means the throne goes to Aemond. And even Aegon knows that would be hell on earth. Well, I think a lot of us know that would be.
It would not be a good peaceful reign. Like no. Like neither of them are qualified to rule. I mean, I would say, like, Aegon, he's not Aegon, Aemon. He's Aemon, a bit more competent. Like he asked to have Otto Hightower reinstated as hand. Like he knows at least that my grandpa knows what he's doing, and it would be wise to have him here. Like he does have some knowledge of needing talented people who will stand up to him. Like that's kind of like the market of a tyrant, is someone who's not willing to listen to dissenting opinions.
Yeah, someone who only wants yes men around them.
Yeah, like when Hitler would meet with his generals, they would have like this very written out in advance. Like, these are the things the Fuhrer wishes to discuss. These are what he wants to do. And then he'd meet with them, like, this is what I want to do. And then what do you guys think? And then they would give their opinions. Okay, good chat. We're going to do what I want to do. When Churchill met with his generals, it would just be like, okay, what do I need to know? What do you guys need? Like, what's your views? Because Churchill knew that, these guys, it's kind of their job and their life experience, getting to these positions to know what to do in a battle. And previously he was a lot more wanting to do his own, follow his own ideas. I think it was the Dardanelles. There was a battle there that he masterminded, and it was just a complete slaughter. Like it almost destroyed his career. So he kind of had that humility to know that, I need people who will dissent and tell me when they think I'm wrong, to make sure that I'm making the good decisions.
Even with current politics, I am not going to get on a giant rant about.
Let's keep it vague here. We're not going to get real world.
But
too much.
I am going to say this because it is true that when Trump was president, he did not. A lot of his advisors, who have refused to return for a potential another presidency, have said he only wanted people to agree with him. He only wanted people to pat him on the back and say, you're doing a good job. He would frequently ask, but this is okay, right? But this is going to be okay, right? He didn't want to hear, you need to fix this. This needs to be improved. He just wanted to know that he was doing a good job. So, Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like I swear I'm not going to get on a giant putt. We're about to put
I know.
that
I could bring up other examples from other politicians, but yeah, like let's just kind of not go down that rabbit hole. We'll be here all night. But again, like what works in this show is it sort of broadly addresses that. Like it takes these things seriously and is inspired by like the real historical figures and what they went through, which is again what I think gives it a lot of value.
But as like I said, I love that we pay so much attention to the small folk even before we see more of Myssaria's spies, the White Worm, and what she does, and before we get the whole "let's build an army of bastards" line, which was so badass. We have so many scenes showing the people struggling. We have a scene of Hugh Hammer's wife trying to get food, and I actually couldn't tell what kind of fruit it was. It looked like oranges, I think. Maybe apples. I don't know.
I don't think it's terribly important to the plot.
But regardless, they're all moldy. They're just, and it's literally like, well, which one's got the less mold on it? You know, we have her begging for scraps because all they can get in is whatever fish they can find.
The fishmonger runs out of fish, and she's like, "I'll just take anything, even scraps."
Yeah, they have nothing else. We have scenes of them in the pubs struggling to have food. We have, and actually one of the things I also really like, I didn't catch on to this until later, is that frequently we see people, the small folk, who have silver hair. And I'm not just talking about Hugh and Ulf, who do become important, but I know there's a scene in the brothel where we see a group of dancers, and the one in front has silver hair, and we see a lot more of them, and you realize that is laying the grounds for what they call in the show the dragon seed, bastards with Targaryen blood in them. So I love that they were kind of sewing that in, showing it's like there's more, because when you then when you look back you realize there was more Targaryen blood in King's Landing than they realized, and especially how much that comes back when we have that. I feel so sorry for Sir Darkland, because they put so much pressure on royal blood, and it's like your grandmother's grandmother was a Targaryen princess, so you may be able to ride a dragon. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? And Darkland does. I think it's Silverwing. Yeah, Silverwing's just like, nope, that ain't gonna happen. And you feel so sorry for the poor guy because he was so loyal to Rhaenyra.
Yeah, well, it's the bit where he's like, the dragon's being all nice. He's like, I've done it. And then it all goes, it's like, oh,
nope.
That was your mistake. Yep. You can't relax until you're on the back of the dragon.
And how so many figures keep dismissing the common folk. Even it takes Mysaria to get through Rhaenyra's skull, because Rhaenyra's, when she finds out about Alan, or no, not Alan, Adam. Alan is the other one. Adam, who gets sea smoke. And she's just like, well, maybe there's like, there's another princess or something. And Myssaria's like, oh my God, would you stop thinking about royalty?
Yeah.
And she's the one who gets it through her head.
Yeah. Though I guess fast forwarding a bit to, Rhaenyra's son.
Jace.
Yeah, how he reacts badly to like them using lowborn bastards as dragon riders, because he's an illegitimate heir, like because Rhaenyra's first husband batted for the other team. They did their best, and
I believe the phrase I loved so much was like, as gay as Freddie Mercury and Elton John kissing under a rainbow on a gay pride float.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good one. I also like Olenna Tyrell's a sword swallower through and through.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah. Keeping it in the universe, but no, yours was good too. But yeah, like he was gay, and it was a political marriage, and like they tried so hard, but it just couldn't.
She says we tried multiple times to make it work, but
they understood their assignment and they did their best, but unfortunately, biology just didn't work in their case. But so she basically, was it with one of the King's Guards or
Harwin Strong, or
was it the head of the Gold Cloaks? And like she basically took a lover and
I think he was like her main protector,
something like that.
And Jace isn't an idiot. He knows that he and Luke and Prince Joffrey, it is so hard to say little Joffrey and not think of the other Joffrey.
Of the other Joffrey, yes.
Yeah, again, it's like,
Yeah.
why do you? It's like,
Yeah.
why does this family keep using the same names? They were all, bastard children with Harwin Strong. It's her youngest, Aegon the Third,
Hmm.
and and Viserys the Second, who she had with Daemon.
Yeah. Yeah. She
Yeah, so
remarries to.
so again,
Daemon.
incest for the win.
Yeah, it seems to be working for the Targaryens. In reality, it does not work out very good.
Well,
Yeah.
flash forward 100 years, it's not going to work well. Ask them
Yeah.
about the Mad King.
Yeah. Again, for those of you who want to look into real history, Google Charles II of Spain, a man that was the poster child for why cousins should not marry. He defied his strongest critics for decades simply by breathing. So Google Charles II of Spain, look at that picture and realize this was painted by someone paid to make him look good.
Or have even more fun, go to ancient Egypt history and look up the great Queen Cleopatra's family tree. That's
To steal one from our wonderful friend Andrew Graham, the Egyptian family tree was more like a stump.
pretty much.
Yeah, but anyway, in Westeros somehow it seems to work out for the Targaryens at least.
It is mentioned in the book of the House of House of Dragon, Fire and Blood that essentially the prince who I can't remember the prince who conquered Westeros, the Targaryen prince. He had two sister wives, and essentially he convinced the religious folk. It's like, okay, so basically we're just going to make this the exception. Only the Targaryens get to do incest. For everyone else, it's immoral and it's horrible. For the Targaryens, just look the other way.
Yeah, I mean there is a strong implication that like the blood of Valyria, it's somehow related to dragons, and that sort of gives them their ability to ride dragons and be flame resistant, and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's they do sort of conveniently overlook a lot of the other problems with that strategy. But back to Jace, like, yeah, he knows he's a bastard, and he's like, the only thing that makes me special is I can ride a dragon. And now you're letting these lowborn people ride dragons, so I'm not special anymore. What right do I have to the throne? He's insecure, and I like that scene where he's sort of talking with his cousin, and she just kind of goes like, "What, you think you're the first, prince whose dad is not the king? Like, you get over it. Like, you do you."
She learned that from her father, because there's a line in the first season. Corlys Velaryon is talking to, I think it's Rhaenys, his wife, and she points out that Luke and Jace are obviously not legitimate children, and Corlys says, in 1,000 years, what people are going to remember, they're not going to remember blood. They're going to remember titles and what's written in the books.
Yeah, and
honestly, I'm sure there was even more illegitimate. If we look at royal bloodlines throughout, all that history. So much of it is we do know that they were incest and they were illegitimate, but I'm sure that if we actually had the truth, it would be like 100 times more.
Oh yeah, that's what real historians are like digging up, is trying to sort of figure out what really happened. And it's a very interesting when you do kind of hear some of these things about what happened. But yeah, I just kind of like that. Basically, she just tells us like, look, being a bastard, not your fault. Being a whiny little bitch about it, that's your choice.
Your fault. Yeah. And don't forget, she is his betrothed. He's supposed to get, he's supposed, that was the deal.
Your ability to keep all this straight is impressive. Like, I'm just like, okay, yeah, okay, they're related, I think, yeah.
This was the deal that Rhaenyra was able to keep with Rhaenys to get the support of House Velaryon on her side.
Okay, yeah.
That Baela would get to marry Jace and become the queen consort, and Laena would get to marry Luke, and because Luke had been promised, or Luke was supposed to be heir to Driftmark. So it's the idea, it's like your oldest granddaughter gets to be queen consort, your younger granddaughter gets to marry into the heir of Driftmark, so her children get to be the heirs of Driftmark. Boom, stays in your bloodline. Win-win.
Everybody got that? We need that Spaceballs clip on the soundboard for this one.
Oh my god, we do. Oh God, I
Okay.
hate to I mostly just remember that because that's one of my favorite episodes of season 1 when you have the guy who shouts like, "They are bastards!" and Viserys says, "I'll have your tongue for this," and Daemon cuts his head off right there above the nose. And he's like, he can keep his tongue. I'm sorry, that scene was
Yeah.
so cool.
That was cool. Yeah, that was a good one. But other characters. I mean, any thoughts on Daemon? Because I mean, Matt Smith.
Damon gets probably one of the most interesting arcs in this entire season because he goes to Harrenhal and he gets put through the ringer emotionally and psychologically. I do love this plot line that we learn from Alice Rivers, who is just got to be one of the weirdest characters we've gotten on this show. I mean, the fact that the woman looks up and says, "I'm not a woman, I'm a barn owl." It's just,
Like,
you don't know if she's, but again, it's like what she talks about, the things that she does is like, you sure she wasn't just making that up? Okay, so Harrenhal apparently was built on a forest of wildwood, those trees with the red leaves that bleed the red sap that were worshipped by the children of the forest, the mythological beings that used to rule Westeros before men came over and said, "This is ours now, claim."
Yeah.
So, in fact, Daemon is sleeping in a bed that was carved from the Godswood trees. So they talk about it being
they really
haunted.
should put a warning on those.
This is essentially the Westeros equivalent of building your house on an Indian burial ground.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, it's like somebody call Craig T. Nelson because Daemon is going through Poltergeist.
That would have been awesome, but it'll be a different show.
Yeah, but let's face it, like I said, he has so much of what happens to him, parts of it, you start to wonder, is this even really happening to him? Is he hallucinating this? Is he dreaming this? Is Alice projecting this? Because we know she's a witch and she can do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've got dragons and ice zombies, so like I'm kind of open to ghosts. Like, yeah, sure, they could probably be ghosts.
There's actually even a great theory going around that because the actress who plays Alice Rivers has such a very strong Scottish accent, and the last time we heard an accent that was strong was with the wildlings in Game of Thrones. So it's the idea that maybe she's a wildling, and that's why she knows this magic and stuff. You know, maybe she's got a little more experience with that.
Yeah,
we don't know where she came. We don't know where she came from, just that she's there. And I still love Daemon's first reaction. He comes into Harrenhal expecting a bloody battle. He's dressed in his full suit of armor, holding it. He comes across 2 guards, bursts into the hall where the Sir Simon Strong is eating dinner. I think there's 5 people in the room.
Like his sons.
Yeah,
couple of servants.
Yeah, and Daemon's like, "I'm claiming Harrenhal," and Sir Simon Strong's like, "Okay, want to sit down and have dinner?" It's just he puts up no fight, and it's
I do like the detail that, like, you know, he makes them all bend the knee, but then like what's her name, like Allison the witch?
Alice.
She
Alice
just, Alice. She just kind of walks in and kind of looks around.
Yeah, she's like, "Okay, so this," but she's like, "Okay,
she doesn't go like, "Oh crap," and she doesn't get down on one knee or anything. She's just like, "Oh, all right, well, this is happening." Like.
And so much, again, it's hilarious. Daemon is expecting such resistance. They give him food. Again, it's like, "Okay, Harrenhal's yours. You want some dinner? We got venison." And he refuses to eat. He's like, "I will not be poisoned by you." And they're all just looking at him like, "Why the hell do you think we're going to poison you? We just bent the knee."
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back and forth. And I love that Simon Strong is so accommodating and so friendly. And he's just like, "Yeah, whatever happens, happens. I don't care." He's just going along with the ride. Yeah, not to mention the way I do love that, because he asks, "Why aren't you loyal to Larys Strong?" Is like, because they point out that Harrenhal, Sir Harwin Strong and his father, the original lords of Harrenhal, died in a fire at Harrenhal, and he goes, "Do you have any idea how hard it is to get a fire started in this place?" It's like, we know what he did. But yeah, Daemon goes through it's so interesting. He keeps having visions. He keeps seeing things. He keeps hallucinating. We have multiple scenes where, again, we're not sure if he's dreaming. He has a scene where there's one moment where he's talking with the lords of River Run,
Riverland, yeah.
and he sees his late wife Lena holding his wine. And again, it's like, is he hallucinating? Is this a dream? What's going on?
Yeah, well, they kind of like cut back and forth, and then like the last cut, it's just a like a servant. So I think it's sort of implied that but by this point he's been going through a lot of visions, so he's kind of starting to get a little bit shaky. But it's a lot of good character work where it sort of gets into sort of his motivations and him sort of working through like who he is as a person and what he's done, and that kind of like also spreads into just his like how he deals with Harrenhal, like taking advantage of rivalries and sort of using underhanded methods to try and force compliance, and how it kind of blows up in his face. And
the fact that
he ends up having to eat crow basically to make it happen, which is probably one of the best scenes. Like whoever that kid is playing the heir to the Tullys, like he did a great job.
Was that Grover Tully or Oscar Tully, or was it Ernie or Bert Tully? No, seriously, if you actually read the book, the Tully family line is all named after Sesame Street characters. I'm not kidding.
That's great.
George R.R. Martin is a fan of Sesame Street. Put it on the record.
Yeah. Well, why not?
Okay. Oscar Tully. Grover Tully was the old one who died. Oscar Tully is the kid who, I was very impressed with how he kind of got all the lords of the River Lords on his side, and basically put Daemon in a corner saying, well, if you want us, then you know what you have to do. And he's got to kill Lord Blackwood. Yeah.
It's like you can have our armies or your pride to take back to the Queen, but not both.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like, there's almost this little thing that like Matt Smith does when he sort of does like call him out, and he's just kind of like, you smart ass little bastard. And he's like, I kind of respect that. It's just like, you've got some balls, kid. I got to give you that to stand up to me like that.
Yeah. It's like, that's bullshit, but it's very good bullshit.
that kind of thing. It's almost like in Avatar 2 when Quatrix meets like Loak, like and he just like, let me see your hands, and he like flips him off. It's like, you're his, aren't you? And there's just kind of like this grin in his face. It's like, I hate your guts because you're the son of my mortal enemy, but damn, I like your spunk, kid.
But yeah, we do see so much with Daemon, just him constantly going back and forth, and it is interesting because he's probably the character I think we needed to keep the closest eye on, that we don't know for the longest time. Is he going to turn on Rhaenyra, or is he going to actually? I mean, the blood and cheese incident was all on him, and Rhaenyra, yells at him, going, "It's like, oh my god, you just made things a million times worse. Are you gonna, are you gonna bend the knee to me as your queen, or are you still whining and bitching that you didn't get the throne?"
That's part of it. I also think it's also like, again, he's a man of action. Like, he doesn't, he's like, your son was killed by our enemies, but we need to go and kill him back. Like, he wants to fight. He doesn't like that, and it's very difficult sometimes to do nothing, and sometimes nothing is the best thing you can do, and that's just not the way he's wired. He's like, I need to go out and start killing people, to deal with the situation. And this season was a lot like, Daemon has to get his shit together.
Mm-hmm. And I do love that we say that. Yeah, I do love that we see that. I love that final vision he gets in the final episode, seeing the White Walkers, the Three-Eyed Raven, the future with, that was clearly Daenerys and her dragons. Yeah. I mean, obviously, HBO couldn't afford to bring in Emilia Clarke for a cameo, but it's obviously her.
Maybe that's why it's only 8 episodes.
Possibly. And just that great scene that it's Helena who's the one who tells him, it's like, you are not the center of the story. You are playing a part. And I love that she's the one that kind of finally gets the message through his skull.
Yeah, he kind of has a total perspective vortex moment.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, that's from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This basically device used to break people's minds in the criminal justice system, where it basically shows you the entire infinity of of creation, as well as a very, very tiny marker that says "You are here." Like it just destroys any ego that you have.
We could really use that nowadays.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
But we have that great scene of Rhaenyra going to Harrenhal and confronting him, and she's expecting him to put up a fight or say it's like, I am taking this army from me, and he bends the knee to her and he says, I have realized my folly, I am committed to you. And you even get a cute little romantic moment where she says, don't ever leave me again. He goes, I couldn't if I tried.
Yeah.
It's like you forget.
I tried already. Yeah.
Yeah, again, you forget this is a married couple. They have 2 children together, and it is cute. It's a very cute moment.
Yeah,
They're still uncle and niece, but
yeah, again, Targaryens. But
yeah,
I even like the bit where she sends the other lord to go and take an eye on him, and the lord is basically, I want to defect to your side. And I'm like, is he actually saying this, or is this his strategy for testing what Daemon does? And sounds like it was a legitimate betrayal.
Considering that we see him sneaking out in the back when everyone else is raising their swords, he probably knew that Damon was going to look like, oh, and by the way,
that was a good spot.
Yeah, when everyone else is raising their swords, going huzzah, huzzah, you're like, oh, I'm sneaking out of here.
Yeah, I know how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's like, you better turn tail, pal. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about that final episode. The first thing I really want to talk about is Alicent. We see so much with her realizing how little she matters to the Green Council, how little she matters to her sons. Aegon was willing to listen to her to a point until he basically said, I've got ants in my pants and I want to go ride my dragon and burn shit. Aemond has no qualms about talking back to her and telling her to shut up. He's the one who kicks her off the council. And it's like, what was the line? It's like, I'm sure you could do more domestic things. It's like a million women all over the world immediately raise their middle finger to their TVs.
Yeah. Again, it was a very different time back then.
And Alicent is the one who goes to Dragonstone and essentially says, okay, I've had enough. King's Landing is yours. Go there in 3 days when, no one's going to be there. Because again, they make the Greens make the mistake of insisting that Aemond and Vhagar ride with them to Harrenhal. And they keep forgetting Vhagar. Okay, yeah, we have Darien and Tessarion who are coming with the High Towers. And we have Helena with Dreamfire, I think is her dragon's name, but she's not going to ride.
Yeah.
She said as much. So Vhagar is their only real line of defense. And they keep saying, and you have so many people saying, I'll ride when Aemond and Vhagar show up. It's like, if Aemond and Vhagar show up, then King's Landing is unprotected. Yeah,
I was almost wondering, like, if it was a trap. Like, she's giving them bad intelligence to sort of manipulate the situation, because that's all they got yet, and we would find out. I mean, I don't know. I guess apparently, according to the book, no, she did not give bad intelligence.
Well, we also know it's not a trap because we see the armies marching towards Harrenhal in that little montage at the end with Vhagar. So we do know that Vhagar is with them on their way to Harrenhal.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which dragon it was there, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, that answers that question for me. But that actually was a good way of building tension for me. Is like, oh, like is she really like trying to like betray her side, or is this part of a bigger plan?
Well, my question.
But now I know, so that's not so fun anymore. But anyway,
actually, one of the things that clued me in this wasn't a trick. It's a minor thing. It was the wardrobe.
Okay.
You see, now this is something I didn't realize until I saw another reviewer mention it, but I started watching the episodes and realized, oh my God, they're 100% right. When Alicent is young, she's always wearing blue.
Yeah.
When she first marries King Viserys, she wears black and red, Targaryen colors. But when she realigns with her family Hightower, when she thinks that Rhaenyra has slept with Sir Criston Cole, she starts wearing green. And she wears green in every shot. But in the last few episodes, when she's dismissed from the council and she realizes how bad things are going, from the scene when she tells her her guard with the King's Guard's like, I just want to go out in the woods and go camping for a little bit. And from
Yeah.
then on, she's wearing blue again. When we see
Ah,
her in Dragonstone telling Rhaenyra about this, it's a blue dress. And I like to think the symbology with that, especially since another great thing is that Alicent's costuming, especially when she's wearing green, always includes the 7-pointed star.
Yeah.
I love that they even find other ways to incorporate the star into her gown and
Mhm.
into her jewelry and everything. It's not always like the necklace
Yeah.
specifically. There's always extra things. The costuming department is amazing on this show. I
Oh,
love all
yeah.
the little details they put into but that was the clue that caught me that she was telling the truth. Essentially, she's reclaiming her autonomy of who she is.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I'm not queen married to Viserys. I am not a high tower. I am not the Dowager Queen. This is just me. This is just Alicent.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense. I didn't pick up on that.
But what did you think about this? That she's willing to commit treason. That she essentially says, "I'm done. I am taking." I'm guessing she's taking Helena and her granddaughter, and they're going to get the hell out of Dodge. I don't know where they're going to go, but she's just like, "We're getting the hell out of here. We're done. It's all yours. Do what you got to do." She doesn't know what's going to happen to Aemon, and she is just given permission for Aegon to have his head chopped off.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I think that it kind of ties back to what I said at the beginning is the reality of what she's done is now hitting her, and how this is not playing out as she had imagined. Like even kind of like that first bit where it's Rhaenyra sneaks into King's Landing to meet with her, and she's like, "Do you really believe that he said Aegon's name?" She's like, "Yes, she did." And he said, "Aegon, the Prince and Protector." She's like, "Wait, what did you say?" So that's from the Song of Ice and Fire. It's like wrong Aegon, and there's just kind of like brief look, and there's like, oh shit. But then it's like, well, it's too late now. So I think it was kind of when the shoe's on the other foot now, where like back in that first conversation, that was when Rhaenyra was on the back foot. She had very few dragons. She didn't have an army. Her position was not good. They had the massive propaganda victory of the blood and cheese incident that they were able to spin good. But now Rhaenyra's like the white snake was her name,
the white worm.
White worm.
Sorry.
That was it.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah. She's been stoking the flames of rebellion in the small folk in King's Landing, and now Rhaenyra has 7 dragons, including the second biggest. She's lost half of one of her kids, let's say, and she's seeing the other one become more and more paranoid and extreme in his ways of dealing with things. Like she's realizing this is going to get really bad, and she's kind of like I want out. Like I don't want to play this game anymore. And so she's going to Rhaenyra to try and make peace, and now it's Rhaenyra's turn to say like we it's too late. Like
she's like, I tried this. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I don't think it was sort of her offering up Aegon to her. It was more Rhaenyra says like that this is the price that has to be paid at the minimum. Mm-hmm. Now. Like, if I am at my most magnanimous in victory, I still have to take your son's head. That's just that's the minimum price. And so what do you say? And you see it in Alicent's acting is that she's horrified, like she does not want to have to do this, but this is the situation she now finds herself in, is everybody dies or one dies. Exactly. I mean, the irony is that actually Aegon has like the best case for exile. He's like, look, I don't have a dick anymore. I cannot make children. Like just send me to the island like Napoleon, put guards around me, just let me live out the rest of my days until I die of natural causes. Like, I pose no threat to you anymore. But that's not going to happen. So I think that it's more Alicent's, not so much she's throwing a fit because she was kicked off of the council. It's just realizing that she's lost control of the situation, and it's getting bad. And this is like her last ditch Hail Mary pass to try and avoid the war. But again, it's too late.
I do love Rhaenyra's reaction to her, especially when she talks about, I've been forsaken by my father and my sons and the council and my lover. And Rhaenyra's like, oh, you have a lover, because
I knew it.
Allison has always been the virtuous one. I mean, even the Hightower clan, the Hightower family has always been the religious ones.
Yeah.
They're the
Pious, I
good
think is the word
church.
we're
Yeah,
looking
they're
for.
the
Yeah.
pious ones, and that is. I mean, that's why Allison was so judgmental of Rhaenyra for so long, because she's like, I am holy, you are not. And now it's just, and Rhaenyra's just loving this. Oh, so you finally admit you're just like me. You're not better than me. And you could tell in the back of her, she's like, oh, I'm savoring this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, let's put everything else on hold while I just take this moment to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's see here.
I guess we could go on to Aegon now.
So yeah. Well, we have Aegon fleeing. With Lair's heading to Bravos. I guess Lair's managed to hide Harrenhal's gold out there, which I guess does kind of make sense. Simon Strong looks like they're doing okay, but it doesn't look like Harrenhal's got any real money to it.
Yeah. I think there's more history there to be found out later, but I do like how they had the scene on the small council where it's like, aren't you at least a bit upset that Daemon's taken Harrenhal's? Like, no, like they have no money. I took it all with me. Like he's gonna pour tons of treasure into rebuilding that place. Like it's good. Harrenhal's gonna break him. Mm-hmm. This is actually a good thing. But he's kind of like he's not Littlefinger levels of schemer, but he's kind of one of the closer characters to Littlefinger in this show.
Yeah, Littlefinger, Clubfoot.
Yeah, Clubfoot is a character in Once Upon a Time in China 3.
I'll take your word for it.
He kicks people a lot, hence they call him Clubfoot. Good movie. But
do you think Lair's is scheming, or do you think he was genuine in wanting to get Aegon out of there? I mean, he says that they're going to come back after Aemond and Rhaenyra have just, beaten their... Yeah, the idea is, he says, let Rhaenyra and Aemond fight each other, let everyone suffer because of it, and then you come in, and it's like you're the magnanimous giving king that they need. You are the, you are Gandalf on the hill.
You're gonna everyone will get sick of their other options, and you come back and you're the bringer of peace, so to speak. It's interesting because with his character, we don't really know what his end game is. Like Littlefinger, you know what Littlefinger wants.
Oh yeah.
He wants Catelyn Stark and to be ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, even if it's all burnt to ashes by the time he's done. What's the name? Varys, he wants a king that will be good to the small folk and the realm, because somebody has to think of these things. But yeah, with Clubfoot, we don't really know what his end game is, like what he's actually looking to do. He seems to be wanting to advance his position, at least at some level, but towards what end, I'm not sure.
I don't see him as wanting to be king.
No, I think he's smart enough to know that, you stick your neck out too far, it's going to get chopped off. He knows when to hold back, but he's no fool. He's very perceptive and very well informed, and that's kind of what makes him so dangerous, but also so interesting. And but what I do find interesting in to get into Aegon is he's this rich bratty kid, who's never really had to aspire to anything in his life. And he just gives into his baser urges. It was funny, like him bragging about like how accomplished he is with the women. It's like, dude, you're like a prince.
Yeah.
Like no girl is going to say anything bad to you while you're with her. Yeah. And he just kind of has this complete like foppish view of himself as he's got an ego. And he also, once he starts to become king and settles into it a bit, and then it's kind of funny, like, because he's not a terrible person, because we see when he's holding court, and you have the people asking, like, could you please return our sheep that you took for a dragon. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Like, your sheep are back. It's like,
Yeah, and
that's
Otto
actually
Hightower
fire.
has to explain
Yeah.
to him that why that can't happen. Again, it's like it's like he's not saying it's like, oh, we should do this because he's evil. He's saying we should do this because he doesn't understand how a tithing works.
Yeah, like he doesn't understand the bigger ramifications of the decision. But at least like it's telling that his initial impulse is, oh, you need your sheep so you can eat and not die. Yeah, please, yeah, go ahead. Like I'm a king, I got plenty. Like if you want some sheep back, it shows that he's not an evil person. He's just a fop, like a foppish fool who's out of touch with things. And when we get into the war more, like he has that sort of childish vision of battle and glory and honor and like it's kind of like Robert Baratheon says, like they never put shitting themselves in their songs when they die. And so so he wants to be the big hero. He rushes off to battle and he gets his ass kicked. He almost dies. And part of that's because his brother let him, held back. But now he's in a position where
Aemon did it because Aegon embarrassed him at the brothel.
Yeah, I mean, what a douchebag thing to do. Like, even if you're like some sort of rich kid asshole, you should know, like, no, that you do not taunt your brother when he's in the whorehouse. Like, you just like, oh, sorry, my bad, and you move on to the next one.
Yeah, Aegon. Well, don't forget, Aegon was also ridiculously drunk at this point.
That too. Yeah, again, he's not making very good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I could, and yeah, like you when he does this, like, oh, dude, you are in trouble. But the result of that is like, yeah, he like half his body is burned. He's crippled. He can't walk on his own unassisted. He's lost his ability to reproduce. Like his good looks are gone. His virility to whatever extent that actually exists.
Probably going to spend the rest of his life addicted to milk of the poppy.
Yeah, he's going to be on painkillers for a long time. I mean, I basically everything that he initially valued about himself has been taken away. Like he can't be a great warrior anymore. His dragon's dead. He can't be with the ladies anymore, and he's been disfigured.
Mm-hmm.
So and like there's that scene where again I forget the character's name. Clubfoot comes in and says, you're going to have to train your mind now to be of any use, and he's just starts weeping.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, not that, I have no use for that.
Yeah, and there's little things peppered through, like when Alicent's looking for a book and she goes to Viserys's study and she finds out that Aegon's moved them all because who needs books?
Yeah, we mentioned before, Aegon did not spend a single minute of his life studying or preparing or learning history. His father, I think the most symbolic moment actually is in the second episode. We know that Viserys is a king who studied history. Mm-hmm. And throughout the first season, we see him building that model of old Valyria.
His hobby was building a model of old Valyria.
And the minute...
If he knew of Dungeons and Dragons, he would be doing it.
Well, I think it's important, the idea of a leader who knows history and knows that kind of stuff. And then what's
great hobby for a leader? Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. But what's the first thing that Aegon destroys in rage after his son is murdered?
Yeah, he smashes the model. Exactly. Which is someone who likes to build models. That's like the. One of the worst things you can ever do to someone in this hobby is like smash all those hours of painstaking work that they put in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he's basically having to start from scratch and rebuild himself in a way completely, antithetical to his character up to this point. And I find that so interesting to see like where he's going to go from now, and how he's going to develop. And again with Clubfoot's, like, for as much as he's a schemer, I think there is that sort of camaraderie of like he's a cripple too. So there is that sort of let's put all the scheming aside here and just be person to person. It's a lot like Tyrion in season 1 of Game of Thrones, like giving his
wear it on your chest. Wear it on your chest, and they cannot hurt you.
Well, there's that, and I was thinking more like when he goes and he gives his saddle design to the Stark, so that Bran can at least ride a horse, even though he's he's like dead paraplegic. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's there's that line. He's like, I have an affinity for cripples, bastards, and broken things. So it's like I thought that was a really good interaction for those two characters, and I think his arc, more than any other character, I'm very curious to see how that pans out over the next seasons.
Absolutely. So yeah, we've got, like I said, they really put up a lot of
There's a lot of moving parts to this season.
Yeah, but they put up a lot of cliffhangers in that last part. We've got so much that we got to wait till I don't know, next year or 2000. I don't know if we're going to get it next year, if we're going to get it in 2006. I do not know when season 3 is coming out. I don't think they've made anything close to an announcement, especially since we get a cameo, one minor appearance from our favorite dragon, Sheep Stealer.
Yeah. Will Sheep Stealer be claimed? That would be something.
Yeah, and I just love that we knew it was Sheep Stealer. Again, for those who did not see it in the when we reviewed House of the Dragon season 1, one of our other reviewers actually pulled up a list of all of the dragons that we had seen so far, and we started joking about how some of them, like Dreamfire and Moondancer, have like really gorgeous names, and some of them, like Cyrax and Caraxes, we're pretty sure they just dumped a Scrabble tile bag on the table, put some letters together, and said, "There, that's the name."
Yeah, and we got Viharis, Draharon, Varaxes, Sunfire, Sheep Stealer.
And we lost it when we got to Sheep Stealer.
I want to know more. I want to know the legend of Sheep Stealer, the dragon that single-handedly decimated the shepherding industry in the East Midlands.
And it is so cruel. We finally see Sheep Stealer, and it's only for 1 second.
Yeah, but hopefully there'll be more Sheep Stealer in it. That character will not be in season 2 for very long.
You mean season 3?
Oh, yeah, season 3, right? Yeah,
because
which I'm almost tempted for them to do.
Just like Rhaena walks up, it's like, "Hello, chomp."
yeah. Hello, Burns. Like, nope, that was not your dragon.
It's interesting also because we get a look at him. Sheep Stealer in the books was described as a really ugly dragon, just mud brown. They talk about Tessarion, who had the beautiful cobalt blue scales with copper spikes. Vernathor, who was the Bronze Fury, and Sunfire, who was beautiful and golden, and then and Sheep Stealer. It's like, no, Sheep Stealer was ugly as sin.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice that the wings kind of like were very curled at the ends compared to the other dragons. So yeah, it did look a little more like gangly compared to the others. I thought it was a bit more silver gray in appearance than mud. But anyway,
yeah. Like, so that's just the way it was described. But yeah, it's like, what? Because we see that, we find out a few episodes in that there is a wild dragon going through the Eyrie, and Rhaena, who has this poor girl has had the worst luck with dragons. She was given a dragon's egg when she was born, and it never hatched. She planned on taking Vhagar after her mother died, and Aemon steals it. She never got a dragon of her own. That's all. Again, I seriously
question if you can steal a dragon at this point. Like, episode 7 kind of very, very seriously put an end to that.
Yeah, but somehow Aemon stole Vhagar. So
or
somehow
Vhagar,
he made it
Vhagar
work.
Choose Aemon.
Yeah, somehow they made that work. Because, Vhagar belonged to Laena. And when she died, since Bela had already taken Moondancer, Rhaena was really hoped that she could take her mother's dragon. And that's what causes the big fight to break out, which ends with Aemon losing his eye.
Yeah, but I would say that probably if she tried to take Vhagar, she probably would have died. Like, I think dragons are very choosy, it seems. And if you're not the one, they kill you.
That does actually. I think we should go ahead and talk about the scene with the dragon seeds, the bastards.
Yeah.
I actually looked it up. The director for that episode, this was episode 7, apparently has worked on several horror shows, including American Horror Story. And I think that paid off because some of those shots looked like they were taken straight out of Cloverfield. Really impressive.
No, yeah, that was a very well choreographed scene. Definitely.
Yeah, we have we have so many that sequence we have of, oh my god, just that one moment of Vermithor actually chomping down and water splashing, and it gets all over the camera lens.
Mhm.
That was so cool and so well done. But I do love that the reason that Vermithor chose Hugh Hammer was that one of the things Rhaenyra says is you cannot show fear.
Yeah.
Dragons can sense fear. And Hugh is willing to. The reason Hugh runs out to sacrifice himself to save another dragon seed's life, a woman, and he's like, no, burn me, let her go, burn me, and he's ready to die.
Yeah, like get on with it. Come on, go on then.
And Vermithor is just like, oh, you're the brave one, then I choose you. And finding Silverwing, it really made me laugh because he's so klutzy. He falls okay, was that a dragon's egg he stepped in, or was that dragon shit?
Yeah, it seemed to be like eggs with like some sort of shit or some sort of substance that dragons excrete around it. Like I think he did step into the nest, which you think like, oh man, you do not want to get into a dragon's nest. Like, you think a bear with their cubs, times a million, like for how screwed you are.
But I do like that they did this way, and it wasn't just Vermithor times 2. I like that they gave it a different thing. He falls over, and there's Silverwing, and Silverwing just kind of nudges him, and he's like, oh God, just don't make it. I don't want to suffer. And Silverwing just kind of bows her head a little bit, and I almost get this impression she's looking at Ulf like, aw, he's so cute. Can I keep him? Or something.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I buy the the no fear aspect, because who's the first one, the first dragon seed, Alex or Alan?
The one. Okay, so Adam is the one. Oh no, Adam gets sea smoke, and he's clearly terrified.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like he's like running away and trying to go there. So like that is very much showing fear, which is a natural reaction to having a dragon chasing after you.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure that's the secret to how to train your dragon. I think it's just like dragons just kind of have their own tastes, and they know what they're looking for, and if you're the one, then great. If not, you're screwed.
As many of those poor dragon scenes found, because like I said, Vermithor likes his food burnt well to a crisp.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of been established that that dragons cook their own food. That's kind of how they do it.
That's true. We do see that with Daenerys in Game of Thrones, but there is still something to be said about seeing someone running, getting burned, and then Vermithor goes, ooh, well, it's like, ooh, I like them like this. Chomp.
Yeah. Well, my favorite one is when you see like the dragon wranglers, and they all have like these little knives. And when Vermithor rejects the first candidate, and he like burns like the Queen's Guardsman and one of the
and one of the dragons,
and he just takes his knife and slits his throat, like just like it's almost like you see like elephant riders, they have like a big spike and a hammer on it, and it's like if the elephant ever like goes crazy and starts running around, they just put the spike on the head and hammer it down. Whereas this is like, no, this is for the rider or the keeper.
Yeah, those little knives aren't going to do jack on a dragon. That's for them to make sure that they don't suffer when the dragons get out of control. Yeah,
but I love like they never say anything. You just it's there for you to see, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a rough life.
Absolutely. But I do love that scene where we get Hugh Hammer and Ulf, who again I love that we have been following them throughout season 2.
My only complaint is that you kind of know, like, okay, these are the guys who have had the most screen time. Like, you've had spoken dialogue. You're probably going to get a dragon.
True, but let's face it. I think it would have been a lot worse if it was 2 characters that we hadn't actually watched and just like, who are these guys?
But just as someone who kind of understands a little bit about how the sausage is made, it kind of goes like, okay, I'm pretty sure like those 2 are going to end up with dragons by the end of this.
Very true. But again, it's really good. Not to mention, I love that they're the ones that we watch to get the view through the small folk. We watch Hugh with his family, with his daughter, who tragically doesn't make it. We see them trying to get out of the city before Aemond locks it down.
Yeah.
We see Ulf and how hard he's got it, eating that fish stew and hearing about how the royals are gorging themselves, which admittedly, that was from the lady at the brothel who they confirm is one of Masaria's spies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that actually was true or if she's just sowing dissent and making stuff up to get people a little, more riled. So
Yeah, they
putting
never
it a
really
little more
established that.
propaganda, if you will.
I mean, yeah, we don't really see anything saying that they've been living the high life in the castle, but we don't see anything really against that. We know that Aegon's drinking a lot. That's about it.
And we do have the scene of them carting the sheep through
Yeah.
King's Landing. Everyone's starving, but those sheep are going to feed Vagar.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So, but again, I like that they were the eyepiece for the audience to keep a watch of what was going on with the small folk, and that they're the ones who we see get to be on the dragons. So I thought that was very clever writing. So my next question is, this is, again, I've read parts of this book, so I know a little bit about what's coming. This is something I have no idea about, and it's, where the hell's Otto Hightower? We see him for one thing. Oh, actually, hang on.
Hey!
Who made it? Hey!
So sorry I was late. There's 50% of it was out of my control. The other 50% was within my control. So but I'm here now. So
that is
awesome,
life.
Andrew. We are so glad. And you know what? You're actually just sometimes I just asked the question, where do you think Otto Hightower is? In the final scene, we see him locked in a cage in a cell, but we don't see who's got him. So
should have told him it was time for plugs.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was.
I'm not that evil.
I'd admit it would have been funny.
All right, I show up in the last second just for that. I don't have any plugs anymore, actually. But
okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. When I saw that scene, I kind of thought, like, is he also like on the run? Is he securing passage across the ocean or something? But no, it doesn't. It's not like we don't have like the whole like wobbling like it's a ship or anything, and it's like really dark and it doesn't look like humid. It looks like dry and hot in there. So
yeah, so it doesn't look like he's on a ship.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, it could be. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, like I thought they mentioned he was in like a battle or something, or having to deal with an uprising or something in a previous scene. But yeah, it's never really made clear.
Yeah, originally Allison wants to send him to look into something, and he says, no, I'm going back to Hightower to look in on your third son. And that's the last we heard of him. And then, Aemon says, I want him to be the hand of the king. And it's like, well, we haven't heard back from him. And apparently this is why. Someone's got him under lock and key. So, but yeah, absolutely. If I had to predict, though, I wonder if it's one of the River Lords. I really wish we had a freaking map of Westeros.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. I was like, where is Old Town in relation to the?
Yeah, that actually is one of my biggest complaints about this season. Is the intro is not useful at all. I know they're kind of doing like the historical events being woven into a tapestry, but it was just so much better. It was just the map that showed where everything was happening in the episode. Like, just
not to mention, and I know this is very common for most ancient tapestries, but so many of the characters look alike. It's like, wait, so is that showing Rhaenyra? Is that showing Aegon? Is that showing?
Oh yeah,
you literally cannot tell. I think the only way we know it's Prince Jaehaerys is because they got the red line.
Yeah, that one was like I figured that one out. Like I understood that reference. Yeah, but like by all means, like do blood flowing through stone channels or tapestries or whatever. Just make it a map again.
Yeah, even some of the scenes with the tapestry with the dragons, I was there going, wait, which dragon was that?
I'm looking at the map, but it's not very helpful just because it's near places that I haven't even heard this season. Old Town is near Brightwater Keep, Black Crown, and Three Towers. I don't know where those are. It's like super south of Lannisport, which I think is where the Lannisters near. Yeah, so it's like way super south.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
And
here,
I-
I think I can throw in a screen. I think I may have found. Hang on a second. Scroll down. Detailed map of Westeros.
It's kind of close to Highgarden, but it's even further south than Highgarden. And it's near like the Dornish area, which, if I remember correctly, that's like the furthest from like the Seven Kingdoms. It's still part.
Dorne is like the most southern point.
Yeah, so it's like way down there.
Okay, hang on. There. Okay, so.
Oh, there you go. You have a better map.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So there's the
It's
Someone put a
further-
lot of effort into that.
Okay.
It's further south of that.
Okay, scrolling down.
There you go. All right. Oh.
Okay,
right
so there.
Oh, there's
Alright,
Old Town. Yeah. Highgarden.
Okay. Horn Hill, Rose Road, Bitter
So it's like
Bridge.
diagonal from King's
Templeton.
Landing. Almost the furthest you can get.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's Old Town. So we know that the High Towers are marching up this way. We know that the Starks are coming down
Mhm.
through the Twins that way.
So way past it. Yeah.
Okay. There's Dragonstone, and that's where Rhaenyra and her troops are. Where the hell is Harrenhal in all of this?
Oh, I didn't realize Dragonstone's that close to King's Landing.
Anyone
That's
see?
go ahead.
I was saying, anyone see Harrenhal? I don't.
Harrenhal? Yeah,
no.
it's in near that lake in the middle where it says God's Eye. All of you.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
there it is.
Yeah. There
And
we
for
go.
the record, God's Eye was mentioned in the final episode. Helena says she sees her brother swallowed up by the God's Eye. So she
Mhm.
sees him swallowed into that lake. So, guess that's the idea. So,
Yeah, guess that's
I-
where the final battle, his final battle is.
yeah, I guess he's gonna die. Is he gonna? He's heading to Harrenhal with his troops with Vaegards. Like, is he gonna die there? That's interesting. Okay.
All right. Yep. So now we know.
Well, now we have a slightly better idea.
Yeah.
This definitely like explains a lot of things I had, a lot of questions I had about the show, like when they would go when Rhaenyra went to sneak to King's Landing, and then also when Alicent went to sneak into Dragonstone, and like they take a boat, both of them take a little ferry, and like, okay,
Yeah, right there.
this
Yeah,
makes
I
perfect sense.
didn't know that Dragonstone was pretty close to King's Landing.
Yeah, because it's not shown, but Rook's Rest is supposed to be right around here.
And that was the whole thing,
somewhere.
right, where they cut him off from the mainland. So
Yeah.
Right.
so
Because
that makes-
the blockade is supposed to be right here, the gullet,
Mhm.
or more just right here, I guess. I don't know if it's at the front of the bay or this part of the bay, but yeah, that's where the blockade is. That's where they can't get the food in.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I was like, how do they get the boats to the food that far? And well, it's not that far. It's like in the same bay practically. And it also
Okay.
explains why Aemon was able to chase the dragons back at the very end of the last episode, where he kind of chases them back to Dragonstone, and then he does like a U-turn when he sees there's like more of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, and I love that scene because I love that Ulf on Silverwing. It was done on purpose. He purposely went there to essentially draw him out and
Bait
take
it,
him
yeah.
back to Dragonstone and be like, look what we've got. Okay. All right. So yeah, that does help a little bit, but yeah, it really doesn't show what would have happened. My guess is did Otto get kidnapped before he reached Old Town? Because again, he's got to go through the Riverlands to get down there,
Mhm.
and we have the Riverlands now sworn to the Black to Rhaenyra. So I guess it asks the questions like, did he get kidnapped on his way down to Old Town? Did he ever make it into Old Town? Or was he
Dunno.
taken out of Old Town? I don't know.
That's
Hopefully,
a lot
hopefully
of,
we'll get an answer in season
that's a
3.
lot of ground to cover.
All right. So my next question is this. The book that covers the Dance of the Dragons is written very much like a textbook,
Mhm.
like something you'd read in school. And it's presented very basic with facts. Is the show favoring the blacks more than the greens too much? Do you think it's kind of missing that? Do you think we're showing too much favoritism to Rhaenyra's side?
Well,
I
child
feel
murder.
I feel from the perspective of like who's like the main. I mean, there's multiple main characters, just like how the books are, but like it definitely feels like we're supposed to side with Rhaenyra because if you look, I mean, I think of who's like deplorable on both sides, and like you have Daemon on the blacks, but then I feel like you have Aemon and Aegon and almost to a certain extent Alicent, and like some of they seem like more aligned, like they're way more kind of chaotic and kind of it feels like Rhaenyra is supposed to be the good side, I think. So
All
yeah.
right. What do you think, David?
Yeah, she certainly comes off as more sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But
She's-
the show does do a pretty good job of sort of depicting both sides as having a lot of variety within them. It's not like the blacks are pure and noble and honest and true, and the greens are scheming, vile, deceitful, horrible people. It's there's bad on both sides, and I'm sure as the show progresses, it's going to get uglier.
Rhaenyra is like the first one though, right? She's the first one to go to try to prevent. Like she has that great line about how her familial line has had these many like decades or centuries of peace. So like she's like, if I'm gonna interrupt it, I want to know that like I tried to do everything I could to prevent it, right? So like she's definitely painted more in a sympathetic light, and I like how she's like the first one to go and try to like kind of avoid this situation. Then we have Alicent, of course. She does the same thing, but more of a greedy reason, really. Like she just kind of wants her hands clean of the whole situation, and she just kind of wants to just sail off into the sunset kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like Rhaenyra, if a side had to be considered more noble, I guess it would be Rhaenyra's side, because I mean, like again, other than Daemon, like everybody else she's surrounded with, who's there with her the whole time, like they're not really like nefarious. I don't get that from Lord what's his name, the master of tides guy. Corlys. I don't get that, like other than the family drama with his his like sons, like I don't feel like he's like someone who's of like ill repute, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the other lords that she surrounds herself with, they're just kind of bitter and kind of angry that they're not doing anything. They're kind of just sitting on their hands kind of thing. But that's not like, they're not like nefarious. They're not like scheming or really plotting. I don't get that from the blacks. So
yeah, they're kind of just standard lords.
Yeah, they're kind of just there.
Speaking of Corlys, though, that actually is something we didn't really talk about, and I want to talk about his scenes with Alan, because he doesn't really interact with Adam that much. But I do love that final scene. He keeps promoting Alan and giving him, or making him his first mate on the new ship. And I love the speech that Alan gives him at the end when he's like, look, I'm trying to help you. And Alan's just like, oh, now you're trying to help me. Because they've been dancing around this whole idea. We know that he is his bastard son. We have the scene of him shaving his head, shaving the silver hair off. And I love the little detail. He doesn't even have a mirror. He's using a plate as a reflective surface. He is so poor, he doesn't even have a mirror. And
he's also feeling it with his hands, which, as someone who has to shave his head, not by choice, like that is kind of how you do it. But around the back is you shave and then you kind of touch it and then you shave again to kind of.
Yeah, I would think you could just feel it and you just know where you have to cut it. I didn't even catch the plate detail.
But I love the speech that Alan gives him.
That with a straight razor, that's pretty damn impressive.
Oh yeah. So the speech he gives him, it's like you've known you've known you had bastard sons, and my family starved while you and your proper children wore furs and ate sweetmeats and everything. And he's just like, I've made it this far without you. I don't need you to promote me anymore, and especially because he feels like Corlys is only showing favor to him because he's run out of heirs. Laenor and Laena are dead. Luke is dead. Bela does not want to be. She's like, what was it like? the heir of Driftmark needs to be of salt and sea. And Bale's like, I'm a Targaryen. I'm of fire and blood.
Yeah. Which is also a pretty good scene.
Very much so. But yeah, I just love that little detail. Corlys is such a great character, and I love that we finally do get to see a little bit more of him. And I love that ending touch that the ship has been rechristened and named after his late wife, Rhaenys. He calls it's the queen that never was. Especially because you know what the name of his ship originally was? The Sea Snake. He originally named it after himself.
Yeah, not very original.
But now he's named it after his late wife.
But technically is also not very original given the situation. But, it's a nice gesture.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Andrew, we talked a lot about various things, but since you came in a little late, are there any talking points that you want to discuss?
I'm kind of bummed that they announced that the show is going to be 4 seasons, mainly because I feel like we can wrap this thing up in 1 season. Like I don't know, I don't know how they're going to extend it that long. But after I'm so glad I didn't watch this week to week. I kind of just binged it all over one weekend because I was telling Alexis in Messenger that I was like, I feel like there's a lot and very little that happens this whole season. Where like Daemon's kind of off and hallucinating in a castle for the entire season. There's only like one real big action kind of like set piece, and that's like in the middle of the season. That's like. And the way everything ends, it kind of just it feels like Age of Ultron, where all it does is just set up stuff for the future and doesn't really have a proper resolution in itself. It's just kind of like I get you want to do that, but like the way everything kind of ends is like it needed a little bit more for a finale. I felt like for season finale, it needed much more than just kind of let's put the set pieces and all that. I mean, what I do like a lot about the show, of course, is the drama, just the way the drama just kind of unfolds. This is much less Game of Thrones and a little more like Downton Abbey at some moments where it's just kind of like we're dealing with the drama of the family kind of issues going on. Like I love that because before I saw that they have the scenes where Rhaenyra sneaks into King's Landing, I felt up to that point like this feels very hasty that things escalated so quickly, but then we get both of those moments where they both seek out each other, and there's like that really strong friendship that's still kind of from when they were kids, still very deep underneath the complications of the family drama of you married my dad and all that drama. But I like how they at least twice try to avert what's going to happen. But I wish that was just sooner or earlier in the season, and we had like a little more action towards the end, because the season just ends with all these armies marching, and like we know they're gonna marching towards each other. Again, a map would have been nice, would have helped kind of with knowing who's going where and all that. Like the Starks, we only see them the very first episode and the last episode. Like we don't know what happens in between. Like they're just clearly getting their mobilizing, but like I don't know. I feel like I don't know if they're artificially extending it to get the most in terms of like, money and guaranteed work for everybody or something. But like when they say like, oh yeah, it's going to be 4 seasons, I'm like, I don't think it needs to be 4. You can do this in 3. Like, unless like you're going to have a war that's longer than any of the ones we saw in Game of Thrones, where like each of those skirmishes was like less than 1 season long, like the Night King. And I mean, we wrapped the whole thing with the Night King and with Daenerys and everything, like in what 6-7 episodes, I feel, right? Like that was like,
it was a bit rushed.
The Battle of the Bastards. I think that wasn't that all one. I could be wrong. Maybe that wasn't all one season. I think Battle of the Bastards might have been the second to last season, but I felt like a lot of things got wrapped up very quickly, and like maybe you don't want to do that exactly, but then this is like the extreme opposite end where you kind of just prolonging everything, and it's just kind of like, this is pretty presumptuous of you guys to think you're gonna hold my attention for 2 more seasons, because we know those seasons are going to take years to film and put out, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hold my attention for that long. So we'll see.
Yeah, my other big complaint about the season was like it has pacing issues, definitely, and like certainly going straight in from like season 1, where just the ending was pretty much the time for peace and negotiation is over. This means war, to quote Bugs Bunny. And then you kind of get the start of season 2. It's like, oh, we're still doing this. We're still just shopping around, forging alliances, and drawing lines on maps, and it's only like until halfway through the season, like, oh, hey, they're actually killing people now. Like there is a war, and it took a lot of time to get going. It wasn't as bad as Andor season 1, where it was like 10 episodes of like, when is the story going to get going? There we go.
Hey, Andor is phenomenal.
Look,
okay,
the show is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm just saying that it took a while to get there.
Just the first 3 episodes, and then it's great. Then it's great.
Yeah, I disagree. But anyway, you can listen to our Andor review for more on that. We're not here all night, but that was kind of the closest thing I could compare it to. Was just like, it took probably like half the season before it kind of really started to get like, okay, there's some interesting stuff going on here. And then kind of it gets to the crescendo. Okay, it's getting really and it's done.
Yeah, it was like you said, like the end of season 1's like, oh, we're going to war, and now like season 2's like, are you sure you want to go to war?
Want to go to war?
Are you really sure you want to go to war? And that's the end of the season.
It's like there's a reason when I wrote the description for this, I used a lyric from the song in Duck Soup, Fredonia's Going to War. It's like, in case you didn't hear them before, I think they think we're going to war. I think they think we're going to war. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much the season.
Yeah. A lot of people talking about the war, but not a whole lot of war happening. And I get it. Like, war is expensive, especially with dragons and fantasy stuff. But, this is kind of what the show is. It's a civil war. We kind of need.
I always wonder that too, David. Like when I watch anything with I'm like, who's funding this, and like, where's the food coming from? Armies don't march on empty stomachs. Especially when it's like Game of Thrones stuff. I always wonder. I'm like, if everyone's fighting, who's doing the farming? Where's the food coming from?
It is interesting you talk about this being a civil war, because I actually think, since we're talking about pacing, I think they blew it too early, because I believe the best action sequence didn't involve the dragons. I think it was the Battle of the Twins. Sir Eric and Sir Arik.
Okay, yes.
Oh, okay.
Not the
exactly. I was like, oh, we're talking people, not geography. Okay.
Wrong twin. Yeah. I should have been more clear.
And then I kind of took a little detour to the Twin Towers while on my way there, but but yes, as far as like
fantasy sequence.
Yeah.
No,
George R. R. Martin writes his initials as his logo, just like J.R.R. Tolkien. It's pretty obvious. I mean, I don't blame him. Like, I'm sure, if you're gonna from the best.
I thought the sequence building up to the Battle of Eric and Arik was really well done. Again, we had them established in the beginning. We saw one of them divert over, and he was the one who brought the crown to Rhaenyra. Mm-hmm. And that great scene with Kristen Cole, who, probably, I would think after Aegon comes in number 2 for dumbest decisions this season, basically taking his wrath out on him, because it's like, he was the one who was supposed to be protecting the crown prince and his sister and Helena. No, he was off sleeping with the dowager queen.
The queen dowager.
And I just love that he's just taking all of his wrath out on him, because again, that's something that I think a lot of us can relate to, that we've seen. We've had people get mad and they direct their anger out at us, or we see them direct their anger, or even we've been, directed our anger out at someone else. And just, him throwing that fit at Eric, and just like, it's like you have to go and kill the queen and impersonate your brother. It's like he's sending him on a suicide mission. We all know it.
Yeah, it's like what's that line is like, a lack of planning on your part does not automatically constitute an emergency on mine. It's almost like that. It's like, look, it's not my fault you were slipping the queen while you were supposed to be guarding the princes. Like, I'm doing my best here, man. Like, what do you want me to do?
I kind of groaned a little when they did the cliche of like, wait, who's who, when they're kind of like doing the little scuffle by the fireplace, and like
at least they didn't do the "it's okay, kill us both" thing, or You know, that,
Well,
that
or
kind of thing.
or it's like, oh no, I'm the right one. Okay, the other one's dead, and then he goes and tries, and then they kill. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
you did the right thing, and they turns like ha ha ha. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was sad, but I think it was supposed to be like when, like, I don't even know which one won, but like well, I assume it was the good twin one, but just he
Yeah, I think
immediately
he
fell
did.
on his sword, and I don't know if that was just he felt so dishonored that his brother did that, or it was just like, you guys have no reason to trust me anymore, so I'm just gonna stop you guys from having to wonder for the rest of the show.
or
I think
was it just I cannot live in a world where my twin is dead?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that.
Could be.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because like I
Maybe
think
we'll
it
never
is.
know.
It's the good one who wins. I think because he's the one that's not limping. Because I think the one that was limping was the one that got stabbed by the good one when he has like in the knee. So
And he
Yeah,
does say, "I'm sorry, my queen,"
Yeah,
to
that-
Rhaenyra before he dies. So I
and
don't
I would
think
assume
that one would have said that.
if the twin on the green side won, he would still try and complete.
Try. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I thought that scene, especially because, the Battle of the Greens and the Blacks is equated so much to a civil war in Westeros. And that scene is such a perfect example. Then we talk about history, and we were talking so much about foreign wars and foreign history, but let's take a look at the American Civil War and how many times it was literally family versus family. How many times we saw letters that have since become published where it's like, my cousins live in this place. I wonder if I'll see them on the battlefield. I wonder if I'll have to fight them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that the battle of the two again, it's Eric and Auric, and frankly, I get the idea of it's like, George, I know why you did that, but frankly, any parent who names their twins that needs to be slapped.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think he said that Game of Thrones was based, like the Lannister and Stark feud was based off of the War of the Roses.
Mm-hmm. It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate so much how these names are so similar. We have multiple Aegons and Aemons and Rhaenyra, Rhaenys, like what I get why
we have a Rhaenyra, a Rhaenys, and a Rhaena.
That's just
I have butchered the character names of so many characters this episode.
Yeah, well, we were joking before. It's like, just think, all of this could have been avoided if the Targaryens would just name their kids something different.
That frustrates me so much, Alexis, that this could have all been avoided had they just named Aegon II something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of that stupid hallucination dream, we have this whole issue, and it's like, it reminds me of the Deadpool thing where he's like, lazy writing. Like that's what it kind of feels like. Or like if you could have if the whole thing could be avoided by a simple name change, like
again, I would complain, but the French.
What about the French?
Well, all their kings are named Louis.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we joked about
they had like 16 Louis. Like they're like the least original.
Well, I mean, at least they didn't have a prophecy that they hung on the name of Louis.
Maybe they did. I don't know. I mean, based on what happened to Louis XVI, they didn't seem to be very good at predicting the future.
All right. Well, guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. Are there any other talking points that you guys wanted to bring up? Anything else that we missed? Any other points you really want to make sure that we discuss before we start doing plugs?
And I think I'm good. Andrew,
going
the floor
once.
is yours, man.
Yeah,
go for
going
it.
Once, going twice.
No, I'm just thinking how because I was recommending the show to a friend of mine, and he's like, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I'm like, well, it's perfect because this is a prequel. It has nothing to do with Game of Thrones. But like I think if you hadn't seen Game of Thrones, you probably wouldn't understand all of those like not flashbacks. I guess it'd be flash forwards to like the night.
to
like the
premonitions.
The premonitions. Like that would be very confusing had you not seen Game of Thrones. And I kind of just found that kind of like it's weird how it works for like the audience. It's kind of like a wink and a nudge kind of thing. But like if you're watching this show without the context of Game of Thrones, that might be like what? And the whole Aegon, the prince that's promised, like all that stuff would be very weird and confusing. And I'm just thinking like, like for someone who hasn't seen Game of Thrones, like those would be kind of big hangups and kind of further blur the whole thing with the Aegon and the naming and all that stuff. So I thought that was I was just in the back of my head thinking I was as I was watching the show, I was thinking like, like I don't know if there's a better way of doing that. I guess you have to trust that your audience has seen the show, the Game of Thrones. So just that was it. That was it. Not really a nitpick, just something that was just in the back of my head.
I will say, I'm willing to bet if you hadn't watched Game of Thrones and you saw that, you'd probably piece together the Night Walkers and the scene with Daenerys with the 3 dragons, just because those became so meme worthy over the years. But I seriously doubt anyone understood what the deal was with the 3-eyed raven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be, other than that little mention of like that first episode where not Luke, but the other son, I forgot his name, he heads to the wall, right? With the Starks, and we get
Jace,
like that.
yeah.
Jace, there you go. And he kind of talks and like he's in I forgot what the name of it was. It Cregan? I think that's the Stark that was talking.
Something, yeah. Hang on, let me scroll down here.
And there's a little hint of like what's beyond the wall. And I'm thinking about how they all say winter's coming, and I'm just thinking like, man, this is 200 years before that. Like, no one's gonna be alive when that thing becomes a threat later on. I just thought that was
it is Cregan Stark.
Cregan, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, like when your father was here, like his dragons wouldn't go past like the wall or whatever. It's like, ooh, like kind of spooky a little bit, but like it's funny how they're so concerned about something that won't happen for 200 years from there. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
I have to admit, when Matt Smith says in High Valyrian winter is coming, I can no longer take that phrase seriously. It's like, sorry guys, that no longer has any meaning. It just makes us all roll our eyes and be like, oh dear God, not again.
Watch. Once September, October roll around, you're gonna start seeing that on social media a lot again.
Ugh. Yeah, we're gonna see that and all the Elsa memes from Frozen all over again.
Yeah. It's like one does not simply post "winter is coming" memes.
I just have the picture of Ned when he's like this with his sword, just like
I did like that was Cregan Stark had ice on his back, like the sword.
Oh, did he?
I'm pretty sure like he had that big giant 2-handed bastard sword behind him. It's I'm pretty sure it's ice.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's like
good catch. I didn't see that. Good catch.
I like weapons. Yeah.
Gee, I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm useless with family trees, so.
All right. Anything else? Anything at all?
I think I pretty much got everything I could think about. So.
Yeah. Went over all the notes I wrote down. So.
Just I like the before I forget. I don't know. I imagine you guys probably talked about it before I got here, but I like the idea of Rhaenyra trying to win over the people with the boats of food.
Actually, we did not talk about that directly.
No, okay, I like that because it gives me the whole like what's that phrase they use a lot during the was it winning hearts and minds kind of thing? It kind of reminded me of the whole like turning around where like, and then Aegon's like why are they when they turn against they're like, or I'm sorry, is it Aegon or his sister who complains like oh, why are this small folk mad at us? It's like, oh, because they don't have the food. And it's like, well, if they would simply like just let like it's their other oppositions fall for like the blockade, and it's like all
that's Aemond. Yeah, Aemond's the one they say they're talking about how the people are starving, and Aemond goes, well, why aren't they mad at me? Why aren't they mad at Rhaenyra? She's the one who's blocking the gullet. So
and it's just insane. I think about again how both sides like Rhaenyra and Alicent go back and forth, and like they each like the realm is suffering over the ego of one person or two people really actually, but like it's just, especially when I think of all the stuff going on in the world today, like it's just very infuriating. And just that like they're aware, but they have that kind of that cognizant what's the word I'm thinking of where they are aware of the suffering, but they don't really have the mindfulness to kind of look inward and realize that they're kind of if one side would simply just concede, like that would just be it. And of course, I know they have to talk about how it's too late for that. It's too late for that. We're past that. But like, are we really past that? I felt like twice there was still like, because Alicent has the whole thing right where she's like, hey, like I'm gonna leave. Aegon can't do crap on his own. He's gonna be there by himself. Aemon's gonna be away at war. Just come on over, bloodless coup, and like we're done, right? And then I'm like, Yes, that's a great idea, Austin. Like, I like that idea. And Rhaenyra's like, nah, we're not gonna do that. And I'm just like, like it's just I don't know. It's just like, I know obviously we have to have the show. It can't be that simple, it can't be that neat and tidy, right? But it's just like, I don't know. I was watching the show and I was like, I'm gonna keep watching it because it's really good. But at the same time, like it's like the equivalent of watching a horror movie. And, you tell like, don't go down that court, like don't go down that corridor. You're like, I'm like shouting at the screen, like, you guys are idiots. Just stop letting people suffer because you guys are so obsessed with one of you, ruling. But I digress. That's it. I promise I'm done.
No, it is a good point. And yeah, we actually forgot to mention discussing the food, the boats of food. And I love how in the second episode when they're showing Jaehaerys's body, it's like, behold the works of Rhaenyra the Cruel. But the minute that the food shows up, it's like, Rhaenyra the Merciful. She remembers us. She thinks of us.
What do you call Allison? The Queen of Fish or something? Or
Queen of Fishes. Queen of the Fishes, because because of the gullet, all they could have to eat was the fish that they were getting in the bay.
Yeah.
Hey, it could be worse. It could be no fish.
Very true. So,
but yeah, it has its issues, but still, I think it's a very solidly written show. Very good characters.
Yeah,
like very understandable. Like there isn't a lot of idiot plot in this, which is nice. Like it's certainly massively better than what we're going to talk about next week.
What are you guys talking about next week?
The Acolyte.
Ooh.
We got a full deck for that. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
But
no, like it's not Game of Thrones. I don't think it rises to the highs of Game of Thrones at its peak, but like it's solid. It's good. Like there's enough things there that I'm interested in seeing where this is going that I'll probably come back for the next season. And yeah, maybe 4 seasons is 1 season too many, but I do appreciate that they're at least going like, we only have. We let's not stretch this out longer than it needs to be. Like, just get that in. Mind you, there's like 7 apparently, like Game of Thrones spin-offs in the works.
Oh God, yeah.
So I'm like, guys, maybe scale this back. Maybe just do like one at a time. Like maybe if you want to do more, maybe just do like a movie or 2. But I do hope we get a Sheep Stealer spin-off.
Yes, we want to see more of our Sheep Stealer.
Yes, the Ballad of Sheep Stealer.
Now, I am hoping for at least one thing with the start of the 3rd season. Since we have Aemond
Sheep
with
Stealer versus
Vhagar.
a very angry shepherd, Looney Tunes style.
Oh, I would love that.
Wait, who's Sheep Stealer? Who is this?
Our favorite dragon. Remember we talked about him when we reviewed House of the Dragon season 1. He is the dragon that Lena finds at the arena.
Oh, the one that's doing its own thing like somewhere else?
At the Vale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's our favorite dragon.
I didn't know that was the name. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, the one thing I'm hoping for with season 3, besides, yes, a lot more Sheep Stealer, is that we have Aemond and Vhagar and all of these armies marching up to Harrenhal because they know that's where Daemon is. But now they've gotten this clue. It's like they're all going to be there. King's Landing is unprotected. And again, in the books, that is what happened. They realize, oh, so they're all here. Then there's no one guarding King's Landing. And they go and take it without any fight. I would just love a scene that they get to Harrenhal and it's completely empty. And it's literally just like, what? And you just one of those ones where everyone runs in, swords burning, like they're preparing for a battle. Very similar to what Daemon did when he got to Harrenhal and he was expecting a big bloody fight. And it's like, I'm taking Harrenhal. It's like, it's all yours. And I just love that they go in and it's just like, even if Sir Simon Strong's still sitting there, it's like, oh, you missed it. They're already at King's Landing. Or just something like that.
I love that character. I love that guy.
Yeah, the Blacks are taking King's Landing. Well, now where are we going to go? Well, Dragonstone's left undefended. It's like, okay. It's like, so now we're in Dragonstone and they're in King's Landing. And like, this guy's just stupid. Like, can we stop now? Yeah.
It's like that one Bugs Bunny Yosemite Sam Shore where it was like a battle of Bunker Hill kind of thing where they kept charging and missing each other and running into each other's forts and claiming
like,
those forts for each other.
It's like that Scooby-Doo bit with like the Benny Hill music.
They're like running through the Red Keep through different doors in the hallway. Yeah.
It goes all Scooby-Doo on us.
Going through different doors, coming out through other doors.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so I guess what this comes down to is like the whole George R. R. Martin universe needs to be more like Looney Tunes.
Well, like I said before, he's already named all the characters in House Tully after Sesame Street characters. So, Andrew, did you catch up on that? Grover Tully and Oscar Tully.
No, I mean I remember the names, but I didn't put too much thought into it. I think I just remember Tully from Game of Thrones. The name I didn't put too much thought into that.
But no, it was confirmed. All of the characters in House Tully are named after Sesame Street characters.
So is there a Birdie? Is there a Bert and an Ernie Tully?
I think there is.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I know there's a Kermit
in the books, maybe. Yeah.
Elmo Tully.
I don't know. Well, it's one of those things. Like I don't think they show up, but you know how he's got the family trees and everything. Yeah, in what's called. I think writers call like their Bible, where they've just got like all the facts and everything down. So yeah, in that it's like if you go through and find the Tully, it's like it's all Sesame Street characters.
There's a Snuffleupagus Tully. I hope. We just call him Snuff for short. Snuff.
Yes. I just imagine like George R. R. Martin being asked that in an interview. He's like, "Look, coming up with names for characters is hard."
You guys seen the Family Guy skit where Peter gets all his kids wrong? He's like, we got Blanca, Ryu, Ken.
Those are
He's like, oh, and then he says, I think he goes through like the Transformers names too. I forgot what some other like.
He goes through. He starts naming the characters from various shows on Nick at Night. Then he does Street Fighter characters. Then it's like red, blue, green. Those are colors.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe I remember that scene. Okay, I think we have talked this long enough. So yes, when we don't know when House of the Dragon season 3 is coming out. I don't think they've made any announcements as of yet, but when it does, we will be there. We'll be back. We will be discussing it. So until then, yes, Dave and I will be returning next week with a full deck to discuss The Acolyte.
Or better not call Saul.
Fun fact, I actually haven't started watching it yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to do The Boys last week, and I have just learned I cannot watch 3 shows back to back weekly at the same time. I
wish I could be on Acolyte just so I can swing my lightsaber around and stuff on the show.
It would be the best part.
Oh my god, Andrew, I honestly wish you could, but that is it. I think we've got like 5 people.
Yeah.
I think we got like 5 people on that one. It's like everyone wanted to be on that one.
Well, the good news is it's only 4.5 hours long. The bad news is it's 4.5 hours long.
Mark's gonna kill me if this turns into another Captain and Winter or Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion.
If he has any complaints, he can run the show.
Pretty much. Week after that, we're going to be talking Batman, Caped Crusader. I believe that we got Andrew Graham, Benjamin Colon, and Dorian Price, who will be returning to the podcast. Poor guy had to take a mini sabbatical because he had jaw surgery, had a couple of teeth removed. So worst comes worst, I get to see him completely whacked down on painkillers while he's trying to talk Batman. So that will be fun. Other than that, I know that we're going to be looking at Borderlands next week, which is apparently getting massacred by reviews. It is not looking good.
I'm going to see it tomorrow.
I'm trying to convince Robert and Jason that we should do a horror review of Cuckoo, because that's also coming out this weekend, and that's getting really good reviews. I want to see that. Yeah.
Now is Borderlands getting savaged in the critic reviews or the audience reviews, or both?
I think both.
They're just saying it is horribly uninspired and dull and just boring. They're calling it boring,
which is pretty crazy considering like the IP. It's PG-13. The film is PG-13, and this is like the one movie or the one IP that you don't want to do that to, because it's the entire the game is like rated M, which is like the rated R, the equivalent. It's like you're getting rid of a lot of like it's almost like it's almost like Deadpool the game in a way. Okay. And if you did that,
I've never played any of the Borderlands games, so
it's like the first Mortal Kombat movie. It's like they made that PG-13. It's like you missed the point entirely.
That being
From
said,
what
that's still like one of the best video game movies ever made, if not the best. I love that movie.
it's a
Which
guilty
one?
pleasure for me. The first Mortal Kombat
The
film.
1995 one?
Mhm.
Okay,
It's a
okay.
serious
Christopher
guilty pleasure of
Lambert.
mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Raiden. Yeah. I love that
Yes.
one.
Mhm.
The future of the
But-
realm of Earth rests on your shoulders in Mortal Kombat.
I love that little hissy laugh of his.
Yes, and then sorry.
All right, so yeah, we got all that. I'll be coming back with another TV party tonight. A few weeks after that, because Mark and I are going to be talking about The Offer from Paramount Plus. I need to start watching that too. Andrew, you said you don't have any plugs anymore. Is there?
No, my podcast I got burnt out, so I don't do that anymore. And then I don't write for GNN anymore. I haven't written for GNN since like April, and they're shutting down in October. So
Oh wow!
yeah. So yeah. So I'm working. I've actually recorded a couple of episodes for another podcast I want to do. Hopefully that I don't get burned out on a completely different premise. But I don't have a name for it yet, and I haven't published anything. So nothing to plug this time.
Well, you're always welcome to come with more appearances on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We'd love to have you on more stuff.
I appreciate that. And thank you for even offering that after me being so late. So I appreciate that.
Look, the fact is, I don't pay you guys because I don't get paid.
Right.
So I cannot hold this whole, it's like, well, it's your job or something. It's like, no, I understand. We're all adults with families and our own schedules. I know things happen. I mean, David has managed to do one or two podcasts with his infant daughter in his lap, holding her. Three. Thank you. And that
quiet
alone,
for two of them.
Still remember, us talking during the X-Men 97 and Dorian bringing up, why am I hearing a baby?
or do you remember, Alexis, when you used to have your dog right behind you on the bed,
Yes. Oh God. And you still hear her bark through half these shows. No, I am not going to throw a fit if life happens. We all have our own lives. We're all fully functioning adults with jobs and everything we have to do. I get it. I'm not going to freak out about that. And I get it. I'm just glad and like I said, that's why I always say it's like, look, if it's a time issue, you can come on later. That's why I always say it's like, as long as there's a recording and you want to come on later, please do. I always have an open invitation for that.
Appreciate that. Yes.
And yes, Andrew, I would love to have you on more shows. You're a fun collaborator, and we'd love to have you on the network more often.
I guess you got me right here. Thank you.
All right.
You're very unprofessional here, so.
Yeah, us professional. Screw that. David, okay, we do have you on for Acolyte next week. What else have you got going on?
I'm not sure I really do have anything on that I'm aware of on the schedule. We'll just kind of see how things go.
All right. So, yes, that's all our stuff with there. And then with me, with Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We're getting ready for the Colorado Springs Comic-Con that's coming up in 2 weeks. Looking forward to that. After that, I'm waiting to hear back. I applied for Animate Des Moines. That is the first or second week of September. And for some reason, they're taking their sweet time letting us know if we got in or not. So I just sent an email today going like, so need to get my schedule going, guys. Am I making an appearance or not? In the meantime, though, our stores are fully stocked on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. You can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I will never call it X, and TikTok. I try so hard to show my jewelry and my company for TikTok. And what gets the most views? A video of Eddie with the dialogue of the child saying, "I'm a potato."
Oh, I love Eddie though.
Well, everyone loves Eddie, but I try so hard, and what gets the most views? My corgi.
Yeah,
I have a friend like
weird.
I have a friend like that. He complained about like he's like, I make videos on YouTube and like I put so much research and work into this one video, and the ones I don't put effort in are the ones that get the most views. And I'm like,
exactly.
There's your lesson. Don't put effort.
Pretty much. It's like I put this together at a lark at 3:00 in the morning, and I woke up and it's got 12,000 views on it. I'm like, what am I? Or 1,200 views. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right?
Now you pivot on Eddie. Make Eddie your mascot. Make Eddie merch. There you go.
Yeah. Start making dog collars or something.
Focus on the corgi. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, thank you all for joining us tonight. For Mr. Andrew Orozco, for Mr. Dave Wright, I'm Alexis Hejna saying be well, behave, be safe, Valor Morgulis.